In this video, I want to give you my humble opinion on the pros and cons of wearable technology, specifically from a breath coaching perspective. So maybe a performance coach or an athletic coach might have a different opinion than me on this topic. I also want to give you a bit more feedback on my direct experience with this new OXA strap and sensor. Make sure you stick around until the end to hear the pros of the OXA because they just released 2 brand new features, which I know you guys are going to absolutely love. If you're new to the channel, my name is Tara Bianca and I am a longtime holistic health practitioner and functional breathing coach, sharing tips to help you breathe better, move better, and be better. I want to put it out there right from the beginning that I am not a huge fan of wearable tech, but this new device did get me curious, and I'm going to try to keep as open of a mind as possible when presenting the pros and cons and really put myself in my students' shoes in order to determine who can best benefit from this type of technology. Let's start with the bad first and just get it out of the way. So here are some cons that come to mind when talking about wearable tech in general, and then we'll talk specifically about the OXA towards the end of the video. I think overwhelmingly the accuracy is questionable, right? So a lot of these devices aren't really known for being super accurate and they are producing questionable data. A lot of these devices are not giving real-time, immediate feedback that you can then implement on. So here I'm really thinking about something like HRV specifically, where most of these devices are kind of doing spot measurements instead of continuous monitoring. And then as far as I know, I also don't think there's too many devices that are measuring things and monitoring things like breathing depth and breathing speed, although correct me if I'm wrong because some of you are a little more knowledgeable on wearable tech than I am. So if you're not getting real-time data, you can't then directly correlate your data and what you're experiencing with a strategy that you can then implement right away to say, calm your mind, stop an anxiety attack before it starts, help yourself to wind down before bed, etc. So I think there's a real missing piece here in terms of the implementation. Kind of related to the last point, I think the big one is that you just collect tons of data, but you don't really know what to do with it, right? So this monitoring process becomes something that's sort of entertaining, but maybe it's not truly valuable. So I've heard from a number of medical professionals that they'll have patients who bring in all of this data from all of their tracking devices, and even these doctors really don't know what to do with all this information, right? They don't know how to really interpret it and make solid suggestions based on what they're seeing. As a side note, I have a genuine question for you guys, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you are actually using wearable tech and it's something you find really valuable, I'm really curious to know how much does the data you collect on a daily basis actually dictate your behavioral choices for the day? Let me know. And then related to this idea of excessive data collection and taking in way more input than the average human knows what to do with is this question of, can these devices be potentially harmful? And here I'm really talking kind of emotionally or psychosomatically, because they draw so much of your attention to these physiological functions in your body that would otherwise just fly under the radar of your conscious awareness. So I think there is a real genuine concern for some maybe health-related anxiety that wouldn't really exist for you otherwise if you weren't paying such close attention to these minute-to-minute autonomic functions in your body. I'll dive into this one a bit more when we get to the OXA specifically, but I do think some of these devices have the potential to actually worsen your interoception because now you're sort of reliant on a machine to tell you what you're feeling, as opposed to really cultivating a deep connection to the sensations you're experiencing in your own body. And then my last general con is that some of these devices are just not that comfortable. So not all of you are going to agree with me on this one or even care about this point. But I know for me, I am not able to wear, say, a ring or a wristband or a chest strap for any extended period of time. I find it very annoying. So for me anyway, the device actually has to be comfortable if I'm going to be willing to use it. Let's take a look now at some of the pros of wearable tech in general. I think it's all really great for data-driven or evidence-driven individuals. So people who just love the numbers and really get excited by the technology, there's something to be said for that. You know, these devices can really add that component of motivation. And maybe more importantly, these devices might even help to hold you accountable and really keep you consistent with the lifestyle habits that are actually moving the needle to make you healthier. As we'll see when I talk about the OXA specifically, I think there is a real place for these devices for people who have really poor body awareness or really poor interoception and who really can benefit from that direct visual feedback or direct audio feedback to know that what they're doing is actually working, and also to help give them some confidence to start to trust the sensations that they're feeling in their own body. While I just criticized that overwhelming input of data, I do actually think there can be some benefit for finding trends over long windows of time. So when monitoring your vitals over long periods, you might actually discover some kind of overarching theme around how your body is responding to life, to your environment, to the stressors you're experiencing, and that might help you to gauge a little better how your health is changing long term, either for better or for worse. If your device does offer real-time data, you can use that data to implement immediately and elicit a positive change in your body and in your mind. So I think this is really the gold standard that all devices need to move towards. How can we make all of that data that we're collecting much more meaningful and implementable? And then lastly, I think for the average person who's just generally eating well and exercising and who's not really looking to optimize their performance, the data collected by these devices might not be that meaningful. But I can see an argument for an elite athlete who really wants that extra performance advantage. Okay, so that was my list of pros and cons for wearable tech in general. Now let's focus more specifically on my experience with the OXA. Let's start with the cons again first. There's no haptic feedback on this device, yet. I know that OXA is working to develop it because a number of breathing coaches have been requesting it. So in the place of the haptic feedback though, OXA does offer some really nice visual feedback via simple graphics, via counting, and via simple written instructions. It also offers some really nice audio feedback via beautiful music. It has really nice simple audio cueing, and it also allows you to follow the rhythm of your own breathing, which is very cool. But I do think for the person who wants to just close their eyes and really feel deeply into their own bodies, that haptic or that tactile feedback is really going to be so important for helping them to know if they're doing the breathing exercise correctly or not, and if they're getting the benefit or not. So hopefully OXA will finish developing that aspect of the product really soon. Next, I coach breathing, right? And one of the big selling points for getting people interested in a breathing practice is that it's totally free. You can do it anytime and anywhere, and no one even has to know that you're doing anything. So it's this very intimate and internal practice. So this whole process of, okay, I'm ready to do my breath practice. Let me get this strap on. You know, for women, that's going to mean getting the bra out of the way, getting all the fabric out of the way, trying to find some privacy to put this thing on in the first place. And then, okay, let me snap this sensor on and make sure it's snapped on properly. And then, okay, let me grab my phone. I got to put on Bluetooth. Oh, wait, they're not connecting. Let me shake this thing and try to sync these two things up. Okay. And now let me open the app. And it's like, oh my God, now the app has to download an update. You know, at this point, you're like, I could have been done with my breath practice already without any of the production or frustration. So there's definitely more barriers to entry with this approach. There's definitely more obstacles in the way of actually doing the work, especially if you're not dedicated enough to the practice in the first place. So I can again tell you as a coach that the place where my students struggle the most is with implementation and consistency. So in general, the fewer obstacles in the way of getting the work done, the better. That's why when I coach people, I take a look at the daily activities they are already doing, and I try to drop breathing exercises into those daily activities as opposed to forcing them to carve out extra time to do this extra thing. So I do think this is a big con that could potentially prevent certain individuals from doing their breath practice at all. Another pretty big con in my book is that just having to engage with your technology at all, for many people, that's going to take them right out of their body and bring them right into their head, which is the exact opposite of what we want during our breathing practice. So that prefrontal cortex is still activated. You're not really in present moment awareness. You can't really drop into your body, and you can't really experience the feeling. And if you can never experience the feeling and really enhance your interoception, now you're kind of a slave to this technology as opposed to cultivating true self-reliance. I'm a person who has pretty excellent interoception. I probably feel too much, actually. It can be debilitating some days, and it can be a very heavy load to carry. So if you feel you are similar to me, you'll probably have an experience very similar to what I just described, one that is maybe a little bit frustrating, where you're kind of like, ugh, I just want to be in my body breathing. I don't want to have to deal with this app. Now, there is a big caveat here. For those of you who are really struggling to feel into your bodies and to know if and when your breathing practice is actually working, you are the exception to what I just said. For you, this device would be extremely helpful. I'm going to talk about this topic more in the pros of the OXA app and device, which we're going to get to right now. As I said, if you are someone who really struggles to know for sure that your breath practice is actually working or not, if you really get value out of having that direct and immediate feedback to tell you if you are doing your breathing practice right or not in order to actually get that desired outcome, that desired benefit, then OXA is an awesome tool. It's one of the few products on the market which accurately measures breathing depth, speed, and HRV in real time so that you can actually utilize that data to elicit the desired response that you're trying to get out of your breathing practice. That's very cool in and of itself, but I also think that for this type of individual, OXA has the potential to actually improve your interoception by helping you to associate the metrics that you're seeing with what you're feeling in your own body. And so over time, with practice, you'll no longer be reliant on the app. You'll be able to really feel these things in your own body with confidence. On this topic of optimal HRV, we're always talking about resonance frequency or coherence. In fact, I did a demonstration of a resonance frequency session in my last OXA video, if you want to check it out. And in particular, we're always discussing how to help individuals find their unique and personalized resonance frequency. So as a coach, I can't tell you that. That requires specific lab equipment. And so typically when I am guiding a coherent breath session, I normally choose a cadence somewhere around 5 or 6 breaths per minute, and I hope that that covers most people. But the truth is that you do have a unique resonance frequency, and it is measurable. And here is some very exciting news. As of just the other day, I got word from OXA that they are now able to use their device to measure your precise and personalized resonance frequency right at home, simply using their strap and sensor. So this is something that is quite amazing. As far as I know, this feature is totally unique to OXA, and it has a really meaningful application to the individual user, particularly in regards to things like stress resilience, recovery, and sleep. So this brand new feature is really cool. Those of you who work with me know that I am quite fastidious with my coaching. I tend to be really meticulous about what I share with you guys, and I really try to share from different perspectives until I know that you've truly internalized the work and that you can own it and really be self-reliant with it. And so because of that teaching style, I am historically quite resistant to a lot of the breathing apps that I see out there. And quite honestly, I find a lot of them to be quite annoying. In fact, I used to write scripts for one of the popular breathing apps out there, and getting to see what happens behind the scenes of a business like that was really off-putting for me. So it made me start to question the integrity, the quality, the safety, and the efficacy of a lot of the breathing sessions that are being published for consumers on these apps. So I'm happy to say that the OXA app is very different. I was shocked, in fact. The coaching inside the app is really excellent. It is very clear to me that they consulted with terrific breath coaches to really make sure that the language, the cueing, and the scientific explanations are all totally accurate, meaningful, and actionable. Whenever I try out sessions in the OXA app, I'm usually like, Yeah, I would coach this in a very similar way. So normally when I am listening to guided breathing sessions, there's always at least one thing in the audio that kind of rubs me the wrong way. And then I'm immediately in my head complaining about what I just heard. I'm totally out of my body and I'm not even paying attention to my breath practice anymore. So that never happens when I'm using the OXA app. I'm never annoyed by what I'm hearing or what I'm experiencing. I feel like the language is really specific, concise, and meaningful. And overall, the coaching within the OXA app really gets my thumbs up of approval. The sessions within the OXA app are short, simple, and effective. They never waste your time with any nonsense, and they've really crafted their sessions in accordance with the best scientific evidence that we have for various breathing techniques. So for those of you who struggle with compliance and consistency, I think the variety of quick guided sessions on this app can really make your breath practice fun, engaged, and varied while still being super effective and getting you the results that you want. So I would say overall for compliance, motivation, and accountability, this app is really useful. This next pro is going to sound like I'm trying to put myself out of business and replace myself with a machine, but it is a pro for you guys, so let's talk about it. The OXA really markets itself as being a personalized at-home breathing coach. And I think that it lives up decently well to this promise. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly the same as having a coach's eyes on you, offering corrections, offering suggestions, helping you to troubleshoot and implement. But I do think overall the OXA app offers a ton of value. So for those of you who follow me or even other breath coaches on YouTube, and maybe you've kind of hit your limit on how much valuable information you can actually extract out of our videos, and maybe you're just not in the position to be able to afford working with me either privately or in my group programs, I think the OXA app can be a really great next step for you. It's certainly way more affordable than private or group coaching, and especially if you already have some kind of foundational understanding about the why behind functional breathing, this app can really give you some personalized assistance and guidance to help you implement what you already know is good for you. This just became even more true because OXA just released a brand new feature, which is totally amazing, which they're calling routines and programs, which I'll talk about in another video really soon. These are essentially like curated mini courses so that you don't have to go stumbling through the app randomly trying to select breathing sessions anymore and trying to find the right guided breathing technique for your desired needs. Now you can basically search for a routine under a specific topic. So think of things like improved energy or enhanced focus or better sleep or panic resilience, and you simply select that topic. And then you simply follow the guided sessions in the order they are presented. I've been playing around with these routines and programs for the last couple of weeks, and it makes the app so user-friendly. It's almost a no-brainer to give it a try. I really think you guys are going to appreciate the value that this new feature has to offer. If you're curious about the OXA Wearable and app, I have secured a 10% off discount for my audience. You can find my affiliate link in the video description along with my special discount code. Be sure to use that special code at checkout in order to get your discount. Some of you have already purchased your OXA, and that is awesome. Please take a minute for me and in the comments tell me how it's going for you, and also maybe leave me some suggestions about where you need help using the app. If you don't have the OXA app yet, maybe tell me what you think about wearable tech in general. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. If you're feeling generous, it helps the channel so much when you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.